The galaxy is vast, filled with countless species, each with its own unique strengths, history, and culture. Yet when a seasoned alien commander faces off against an unexpected threat, he quickly learns that nothing in the universe could have prepared him for humanity. On the fringes of an interstellar war, a group of highly advanced alien forces has finally encountered what they consider their most dangerous adversary yet, the humans. For years, they have studied Earth's inhabitants, deemed primitive by most, and dismissed their potential. But as the war drags on, the aliens' arrogance begins to unravel. They underestimate the sheer willpower and ingenuity of humankind. This is a species that refuses to be crushed, a species that thrives under pressure. And soon, they will see exactly why humanity is a force to be reckoned with. The alien commander stands at the center of a war room, staring down at a holographic map. His hands hover over the glowing controls, issuing orders with cold precision. His fleet of warships surrounds a human colony on a distant planet, poised for what they expect to be an easy victory. A final strike. The humans are outmatched, outgunned, and outnumbered. The commander smirks, ready to crush yet another species under the might of his advanced technology and tactical brilliance. But then, something unexpected happens. As his fleet moves into position, a lone human fighter ship suddenly emerges from the shadows of a nearby asteroid field. It's small, unremarkable. The commander initially dismisses it as a scout, perhaps a last-ditch effort from the humans to gather intelligence. The ship's movements are erratic, almost like it's playing a game, weaving in and out of the asteroid belt. The commander frowns, intrigued by the unexpected strategy. He orders his ships to track it, thinking this will be a simple exercise in catching a stray pilot. The fighter closes in, and for a moment, it looks as though the alien forces will finally take control of the situation. But just as quickly, the human ship evades, performing a series of maneuvers the commander has never seen before. It's not the technology that catches his attention, but the audacity, the pure fearlessness of the human pilot. The commander feels a chill run down his spine. It's as if this human is taunting him, playing with him. Then the fighter ship jumps out of the asteroid field, revealing its true nature. It's not a lone ship at all. Behind it, a massive fleet of human warships bursts into view, emerging from the shadow of a nearby planet. The commander's eyes widen in disbelief. This isn't just one human ship. It's a full-on assault. The humans have been biding their time, preparing a trap, and they've just caught him in it. As the human fleet charges forward, the alien commander's mind races. The humans are not just desperate survivors. They are calculating, determined, and now they are fighting back with a vengeance. The commander snarls and orders his forces to prepare for battle, but the surprise attack has already thrown him off balance. In the chaos, something even stranger happens. From the heart of the human fleet, a single vessel breaks away, heading straight for the alien command ship. The commander's officers scramble to respond, but it's too late. The human ship engages in close combat, moving in a way that defies every expectation. It feels wild, like a beast unleashed. The commander's eyes narrow. He orders his defenses to open fire, but something seems off. The human ship isn't just attacking. It's drawing him in, making him chase it, all while evading every shot. And then, with a sudden move, the human ship reveals its true form, a massive war machine, a beast of metal and fire that seems to breathe destruction with every move. The alien commander stares, a rare feeling stirring in his chest. Fear. His fleet is on the verge of collapse, and in front of him, the humans show no signs of surrender. In fact, they are only growing more determined. And just as he is about to issue a final command, a strange voice crackles through the communicator. What a cute pup. The alien commander's blood runs cold. He doesn't understand. What do the humans mean by this? Was it a taunt? A joke? His mind races as the human fleet closes in, and he realizes with horror that this is only the beginning. The battle has just begun, and the true nature of humanity is about to be unleashed in ways no one could have imagined. The explosion rocked the alien command ship with such force that the entire bridge seemed to tilt, throwing officers from their posts. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and the air was thick with the smell of burning circuitry. The alien commander barely held onto his seat, his mind racing, struggling to regain control of the situation. His eyes flicked across the control panels, reading off damage reports in rapid succession. Shields at 60%. Hull integrity compromised in sectors 4 through 7, his first officer reported, struggling to maintain composure. The commander's face tightened as he processed the information. This was no stray shot. The humans had anticipated his every move, even down to the moment he would launch his assault. How had they known? He glanced at the view screen, seeing the human fleet still closing in, their ships weaving through space with an eerie precision. They weren't panicking. They were adapting, evolving on the fly. It was as if they had expected this exact scenario. Deploy countermeasures. Now. The commander barked, his voice tight with frustration. But as the orders left his mouth, a terrifying realization hit him. The humans had already anticipated that too. Every move he made, every reaction, seemed to play right into their hands. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship, the captain stood at the helm, watching the chaos unfold on his screen. The explosion had been the first phase of their plan. A calculated strike aimed at catching the aliens off guard. But that was only the beginning. He could see the alien ships regrouping, their shields regenerating, their weapons powering up. They were not going to go down without a fight. But the captain wasn't worried. The humans had more tricks up their sleeves than the aliens could ever guess. Status update, he commanded, his voice steady but filled with an undercurrent of excitement. Shields holding steady, Captain, the officer replied. We've taken a few hits, but nothing we can't handle. The alien fleet is reorganizing. They're starting to retaliate, but they don't know what's coming. The captain allowed himself a small, confident smile. The human fleet was built for this. They were designed not just for brute force, but for adaptability, for quick thinking in the heat of battle. The captain's mind worked like a clock, running through the complex strategy they had spent months developing. It was all about timing. The aliens might have superior technology, but they lacked the flexibility and unpredictability that humans excelled at, and that would be their downfall. The captain's thoughts were interrupted by another voice, this time from the tactical officer. Captain, we've detected something unusual. It's a signal coming from one of their ships. It's a pattern. It doesn't look like normal communication. We think it's some kind of coded message. The captain's brows furrowed. A message? From the aliens? The officer nodded. Yes, sir. We're decoding it now, but it seems like a warning. It's fragmented, but it mentions something about the beast. The captain's heart skipped a beat. The beast? He echoed. His mind flashed back to the strange transmission he had received earlier, the one that had referred to the human ship as a cute pup. Was this what the aliens were afraid of? Was their fear rooted in something more than just strategy? Could it be that they had underestimated not only humanity's tactics but its very nature? The message was still being decrypted, but the captain felt a chill run down his spine. He had a gut feeling that this battle was about to escalate in ways no one could have predicted. The tension on the bridge of the human flagship was palpable as the message from the alien ship continued to puzzle the crew. The captain, unable to shake the unease that had settled in his gut, stared at the holographic screen where the cryptic code was being decoded. Every word that appeared only seemed to deepen the mystery. The message spoke of the beast and warned of awakening something beyond comprehension. But what did it mean? What were the aliens truly afraid of? Captain, we've isolated the signal, the tactical officer said, her voice tight with urgency. There's one phrase that keeps repeating. Unleash the beast and humanity falls. The words hit the captain like a punch to the gut. His mind raced. What could the aliens be referring to? The humans had no hidden weapons that they knew of, no secret superweapons or unknown technologies. The beast was an unknown factor, something entirely outside the realm of their expectations. The captain felt a cold sweat begin to form on the back of his neck. Had they underestimated the aliens just as much as the aliens had underestimated them? Keep decoding, he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. He turned to the officer at the weapons station. Prepare all ships for immediate combat. If they think they can summon some kind of monster, they're in for a surprise. The officer nodded, but the captain could see the uncertainty in her eyes. It wasn't just the alien fleet they had to worry about now. It was whatever unknown threat was being hinted at in those strange transmissions. Meanwhile, on the alien command ship, the commander was in the middle of organizing a counterstrike, but his mind kept returning to the words of the human message. "What do they know?" he muttered under his breath. The more he thought about it, the more it became clear. The humans had something planned. But what was it? Why were they calling it the Beast? His officers worked frantically to analyze the human fleet's movements. The human ships, which had seemed so disorganized and unpredictable at first, were now moving with a precision that was almost eerie. The alien commander ordered his fleet to close in and engage the humans head-on, but something was wrong. The humans weren't running. They weren't trying to flee. They were waiting. "Why aren't they retreating?" the commander demanded, slamming his fist onto the console. His patience was wearing thin. They should be retreating. "They're moving into formation, Commander," the tactical officer replied, voice strained. "They're preparing something. A final move. I can't say for sure what it is, but it's unlike anything I've seen." A deep, unsettling silence filled the command room as the alien officers stared at their screens. Unable to offer answers, the commander felt the weight of the situation bearing down on him. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was something else entirely, something personal. His every instinct told him that they were walking into a trap that had been set long before this day. He could feel it in his bones. The humans had lured them here, to this very moment, and now, as their fleets drew closer, the commander could feel the ground beneath his feet shifting, the air thick with anticipation. The alien ships halted. No one spoke. For a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the first move. The captain of the human fleet stood at the helm, the edge of a smile tugging at his lips. His eyes flicked to the view screen, where the alien ships were massing, just on the edge of the human trap. The calm before the storm was electric, charged with a tension that felt as if it could snap at any moment. The silence broke with a single earth-shattering explosion. It came from nowhere, a flash of light so bright it nearly blinded the crew of the flagship. The screen blinked out for a split second, then flickered back to life. And then the real chaos began. The alien fleet erupted into action, their weapons firing in rapid succession, tearing through space toward the humans. But the captain wasn't surprised. He had been waiting for this. He had been waiting for them to strike first. Now, the captain yelled, "Engage!" As the human ships sprang into action, the captain's heart pounded in his chest. The humans were ready. They had anticipated every move. And now, the battle that would determine the fate of both species was about to explode in full force. But in the back of the captain's mind, there was a gnawing thought. Something wasn't right. The alien commander was too focused, too determined. The humans had given them every reason to believe they could win, yet still, the feeling that something greater was at play lingered. Something beyond the battlefield. As the human ships engaged, unleashing a barrage of firepower that lit up the dark expanse of space, the captain's heart raced. It was a perfect opening salvo. The aliens were caught off guard, their formation shattering under the weight of the attack. But even as the human forces advanced, the captain couldn't shake the sense that something was deeply wrong. The alien fleet was fighting back fiercely, yes, but there was something missing. It was almost as if they weren't fighting for survival. They were waiting for something, waiting for the right moment. A sharp, frantic shout broke his concentration. "Captain, we've detected something new. A massive anomaly. It's appearing on all our sensors." The captain's eyes snapped to the screen, and his breath caught in his throat. There, emerging from the depths of space, was a massive formation of ships, hundreds of them. Unlike anything the humans had seen before, they were cloaked in darkness, their silhouettes barely visible against the backdrop of stars. But it was the sheer size of the formation that struck the captain like a blow to the chest. These weren't just reinforcements. These ships were ancient, colossal, their forms covered in battle scars and rust, and they were moving with purpose, with intent. The tactical officer was the first to speak, his voice trembling. "Captain, these ships, they're not part of the alien fleet we've been tracking. These are older, much older." Before the captain could respond, the entire bridge shook violently. The holographic projections flickered and alarms blared. Something massive had just emerged from the heart of the alien fleet, a ship so large, so imposing, it dwarfed everything else in its wake. Its surface seemed to shimmer, shifting and pulsating with an eerie, unnatural light. It was like nothing the humans had ever seen. A living ship, its surface covered in biomechanical armor, veins pulsing with energy. "This is it," the captain muttered under his breath. "This is what they were hiding." It was then that the voice crackled through the intercom, its tone chilling and cold. "Humanity will fall. The beast is awake." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. A wave of dread swept over the captain, and for the first time, he felt the full weight of the situation bearing down on him. The aliens had been preparing for something far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined, and whatever it was now loose. "Captain, the alien ship, it's charging up. It's unlike any weapon we've encountered," the tactical officer reported, her voice strained. "The energy readings are off the charts. Brace for impact," the captain barked, his voice a roar of command. The ship shook again as a blinding beam of energy shot out from the alien behemoth, its power rippling through space like a shockwave. The human ships were thrown into disarray, their shields flickering, their weapons faltering under the sheer intensity of the blast. In the chaos, one of the smaller human ships was struck directly, its hull rupturing as it exploded into a ball of fire and debris. The captain's eyes narrowed with resolve. He'd lost a ship, but this was only the beginning. "What the hell is that thing?" the captain growled. He had been ready for alien weapons, even the unknown. But this was a different level of terror. "Captain, there's more," the officer at the communication station said, her voice barely audible over the noise. "Another signal just came through. It's from the alien command ship. They've activated something. A new force. Something beyond our comprehension." The captain felt the blood drain from his face. The alien command ship, too, had been hiding something. Something that now had the potential to turn the tide of battle in their favor. The sky above them darkened with a new kind of storm. This wasn't just a war anymore. This was something much, much bigger. The captain gripped the armrest of his chair, his knuckles white as the ship shuddered again, this time with a force that seemed to come from deep within the fabric of space itself. The blast from the alien ship had torn through the heart of the human fleet, and the shockwave had sent the remaining ships tumbling. The view outside the bridge's windows was a fiery, chaotic mess of debris and flashing lights. The enemy's new weapon was devastating, far beyond anything they had anticipated. "Captain, we've lost 3 more ships. Shields are failing across the fleet. We can't sustain this much longer." The officer at the weapons station was frantically tapping commands, her voice cracking under the pressure. The captain's eyes darted across the status reports flashing on the screen. The human ships, though still fighting, were struggling to hold their own against the overwhelming power of the alien behemoth. That thing, whatever it was unlike any ship the humans had ever encountered. Its presence alone was enough to send shockwaves of fear rippling through the crew. "Get us closer to the enemy formation. Full speed ahead," the captain barked, his voice cutting through the panic. He knew the only way to have a chance was to engage the alien fleet at close range, where their massive weapon would be less effective. But even as the order left his lips, something strange began to happen. The alien behemoth started to pulse, its surface rippling as though alive, its biomechanical veins glowing with an otherworldly light. The ship emitted a low hum, almost like a growl, reverberating through space. It wasn't just a ship, it was a creature. Alive, breathing, hungry for destruction. "Captain, you need to see this," the sensor officer shouted, her voice a mix of awe and terror. "There's something coming out of the ship. It's moving." On the screen, the behemoth's hull seemed to open up, revealing something huge, something massive. It was a creature, or perhaps an entire fleet of creatures, strange, monstrous beings with insect-like features and sharp, deadly appendages. The captain's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't just a weapon. It was an invasion force. The aliens had unleashed something far more dangerous than any fleet of ships. The officer at the communication station was still trying to decode the alien transmissions, her fingers moving rapidly across the console. "Captain, it's not just one ship. There's an entire fleet. It's biological. It's a swarm." A wave of dread washed over the captain. The alien fleet had not just hidden a secret weapon. It had hidden an army. These creatures, these bioengineered horrors, were now descending upon them, and their ship was only the first of many. "Brace for impact," the captain shouted, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew it was too late. The human ships were already being overwhelmed by the monstrous creatures. The alien behemoth had not just brought weapons. It had brought the means to consume everything in its path. The battle had transformed from a war between fleets to something far more primal. The human ships, though advanced, were no match for the sheer scale of the alien invasion. The creatures descended upon them like locusts, tearing through hulls with ease, their razor-sharp appendages cutting through metal and flesh alike. "Captain, the enemy is swarming us," the tactical officer screamed, her voice nearly drowned out by the chaos. "We can't hold them off much longer." The captain's mind raced, but he knew that their only hope lay in the unpredictable nature of humanity itself. He turned to his crew, the fire of determination burning in his eyes. "We're not finished yet," he said, his voice calm but filled with an edge of fury. "We fight for our survival, for Earth." He stood up, walking toward the viewport. The alien swarm was closing in, but the captain wasn't about to give in. Humanity had always fought back, against impossible odds. Now it was their turn to prove that nothing, not even this monstrous alien force, could break their spirit. The final clash was imminent, and no one, human or alien, could predict what would happen next. As the wreckage of the alien fleet drifted away, the captain allowed himself a brief moment of quiet. The vastness of space was once again silent, but now it held a different kind of peace. The swarm of alien creatures was no more, their purpose shattered with the destruction of their godlike vessel. The threat that had loomed over humanity for so long had been eradicated, but at a heavy cost. The crew, though exhausted and battered, began to regroup. The wounded were being tended to, and the surviving ships signaled their safe return. There was a weight in the air, a mixture of relief and sorrow. The victory was hard-earned, but it was also a reminder of how fragile peace could be. The captain looked over the bridge, his crew still working with quiet determination. They had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious, but it hadn't been without sacrifice. The battle had tested their limits, their unity, and their will to survive. "Captain," the comms officer spoke softly, her voice hesitant. "We've received a message from Earth. They've seen the destruction. They know the war is over." The captain turned, his face grim but resolute. "And what do they say?" "They're asking for a report on what happened. They want to know what comes next." The captain paused, his gaze drifting out toward the stars. What did come next? The alien fleet was gone, but the universe was vast and full of unknowns. This battle was only one chapter in the ongoing story of humanity's survival and growth. They had faced a force unlike anything they had ever imagined, and they had triumphed. But in the depths of space, there were always more dangers, more threats waiting to be discovered. "We'll rebuild," the captain said, turning back to his crew. "Humanity will always rebuild, but we've learned something important. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how impossible the odds, we will never give up. We'll adapt, we'll grow, and we will always fight for our future." The crew nodded, a shared understanding passing between them. The war was over, but the journey wasn't. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, and now it was time to carry that strength forward. Humanity's story wasn't one of surrender. It was one of survival, of defiance, and of a fierce determination to protect what they held dear. As the fleet began its long journey back to Earth, the captain looked out one last time at the empty expanse of space. The battle was over, but the story of humanity was just beginning, and this time they were ready for whatever came next.